We are starting off with WWE, and on this week's Raw, Charlotte Flair was resoundingly booed by fans despite the 2025 Women's Rumble winner talking openly about her struggles returning from injury. On the hump, Sean Ross Sapp was asked whether WWE anticipated this response, and he revealed that the people I talked to expected it. In her promo, Flair tried to address the frosty reception, saying she missed both the boos and the cheers before admitting that her knee injury had broken her both physically and mentally. As the boos only grew louder, Flair leaned into a more heelish persona, saying she will also be the greatest WWE superstar, a claim that dared fans to boo her more. WWE may have intended for Flair to receive a hero's welcome upon her return, but that hasn't happened, with many fans tired of seeing her thrust into title pictures once again. Charlotte will be on tonight's SmackDown, where she'll meet Tiffany Stratton, and we'll have to see if the reaction to the Queen improves when facing the WWE Women's Champion. Speaking of being met with a chorus of boos, Hulk Hogan got exactly that when Raw debuted on Netflix, and not even evoking the names of Randy Savage could help the Hulkster out. Speaking to Kyle Brandt of Good Morning Football, Seth Rollins was asked on his thoughts about Hogan getting booed, and Rollins said that there's a reason for this frosty reception. He said, "I'm all for people getting what they deserve, and that's exactly how I feel about Hulk Hogan getting booed. If you're getting booed by the masses, there's a reason for that. I don't know if Hulk fully understands the scope of it, but people get what they deserve, so I'm happy to see it." Rollins acknowledged Hogan's influence on wrestling and credited Hulk as the reason he got into wrestling, and made clear he respects Hogan and his contributions to the business. With that said, Rollins also believes that Hogan has some responsibility to own up to things he hasn't properly yet addressed. If Hogan can recognize that and take accountability for those issues, he and the fans might be able to move forward, but until then, the Hulkster will remain persona non grata for fans. Hulk Hogan's beer may not unite people, but at least he's managed to unite Seth Rollins and CM Punk on something, as these fierce rivals are aligned in their views on the Hall of Famer. Do you agree with Seth Rollins that Hulk Hogan got what he deserved? Should Hulk Hogan address his past controversies, or is the reaction unfair? Let us know your thoughts down below. In October 2024, Samantha Irwin shared that she was leaving WWE, and later explained that WWE never seeing her as more than just an announcer affected her decision. At the time of her exit, fans immediately speculated that she'd join AEW after her fiancé Ricochet had just debuted a few months earlier and has been a featured player ever since. On this week's Dynamite, Ricochet earned a victory over his rival Swerve Strickland in the main event, and PW Insider reports that Irwin was backstage at the show in Atlanta. Not only that, but Irwin was present on Chris Jericho's cruise, where Ricochet also wrestled, and this isn't the first time the former announcer has been tied to AEW. Despite speculation from fans, Ricochet told Casual Conversations with the Classic that he doesn't see his fiancée joining AEW, saying she truly is done being an announcer. Of course, fans know to never say never in wrestling, and if a non-announcing role comes up, fans shouldn't count out Samantha Irwin being all elite after all. Would you like to see Samantha Irwin join AEW, perhaps as a manager for her fiancé? Share your thoughts down in the comments section. Cody Rhodes retained the undisputed WWE title at the Royal Rumble in a brutal ladder match with Kevin Owens, but unsurprisingly, this match left the champ feeling worse for wear. Rhodes was so banged up that he wasn't able to attend the post-show press conference, and Jackie Redmond shared at the time that Cody's condition was uncertain. On Instagram stories, Rhodes gave an update on his condition, stating, "2 days in bed essentially, but feeling good and ready for Memphis. Also, since I got through it in one piece, I got to keep the best promise." That promise was to remain undisputed WWE champion, but with WrestleMania season underway, Cody won't have much longer to rest before moving on to his next challenger. After this year's Royal Rumble, several fans took to social media to complain that most WWE themes today are too generic, making it hard to identify which wrestlers were arriving. Well, it turns out that WWE talent share those frustrations, as Fightful Select reports that multiple wrestlers have voiced concerns over their current themes. Some have even tried to revert to their previous themes, but the issue is that talent reportedly have little to no creative input when working with Def Rebel. There's no direct collaboration on the final product of their theme, and while some superstars have managed to keep or regain past themes, others haven't been so lucky. In some cases, WWE's attempt to introduce new themes has led to talent pushing back, and incoming wrestlers prefer to use their own established themes rather than a Def Rebel track. There's no word on how long WWE's deal with Def Rebel will last, but with fans and talent growing increasingly dissatisfied, WWE might be forced to have changes come very soon. Should WWE reconsider how it handles its entrance music, or is Def Rebel just getting a bad rap? Share your thoughts in the comments. Recently, former WWE superstar Mandy Rose shared her anger at Tiffany Stratton, accusing the women's champion of using her slogan during a recent promo. The promo in question saw Stratton drop the line, "Put some respect on my name," a line Rose feels belongs to her, and now the buff Barbie has responded. Sitting down with Ring the Bell, Stratton was asked about what Rose had to say and replied, "Honestly, I think it's a little sad that she felt the need to go on her podcast and say something like that. I wish her the best, honestly." This is certainly an interesting response from Stratton, and while Rose hasn't responded yet, this comment by the champ may elicit a reaction from Mandy Rose. Do you think Rose was justified in her anger about Stratton, or is Rose wrong to claim that the line about respect is hers? Share your thoughts down in the comments section. In WWE, Chris Jericho had a highly successful career, but they left the company in 2018 to become one of AEW's first major signings the following year. Now Jericho has revealed that WWE wanted him to return in 2022, and not only did they want him back, but they wanted him to return with his popular list gimmick. On the Insight podcast, Jericho explained that he never wanted to become a nostalgia act and still feels that way, which actually fueled his decision to join AEW in 2019. As for 2022, Jericho wasn't interested in going back to WWE with the list, as he didn't want to repeat the past, as at the time the list was simply no longer a relevant part of his act. Jericho also discussed how WWE's salary structure has changed since its exit for AEW, as for years WWE had a set limit ensuring no one was guaranteed more than $1 million per year. Though wrestlers could earn more through pay-per-view bonuses and merchandise sales, on paper $1 million was the maximum, but that has since changed. Jericho claims that after he left WWE to join AEW, the salaries increased significantly, with even lower card wrestlers making $1 million annually in their WWE deals. Top stars, according to Jericho, are earning between $30 to $40 million, and though he said not every wrestler is making that much, some are earning $15 to $20 million. Jericho believes these changes wouldn't have happened if WWE hadn't felt pressured by AEW to pay their talent much more and keep them away from Tony Khan's promotion. With so much money on the table, one would be forgiven for thinking Jericho is interested in returning to WWE, but Chris has already said that he'd reject a Hall of Fame induction. With that in mind, fans may have to give up hope of seeing Jericho returning to WWE one day, as it seems unlikely that the former AEW World Champion will ever go back. Would you have liked to see Jericho return to WWE with the list, or do you agree with his decision to move forward creatively in AEW? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Now Nikki Bella is back in WWE, and she might not be alone for long, as after making her in-ring return at the Rumble, Nikki is teasing that her sister Brie could be set to step back in the ring. During an episode of their Nikki and Brie Show podcast, Nikki made clear that the Rumble appearance wasn't a one-off, but just the beginning of something new. Fans will see Nikki again sooner rather than later, but Nikki then shared her cryptic tease about her sister, sharing that, "Hopefully Brie Mode will be by my side soon. More on that to come." Nikki is leaving the door wide open for a Bella Twins reunion, and if this happens, it'd mark Brie's first match since the 2022 Women's Royal Rumble won by Ronda Rousey. Since then, Brie has stepped back from wrestling to focus on her family, including her husband Bryan Danielson, who is currently with AEW. Nikki also teased having unfinished business in WWE, naming Charlotte Flair, Liv Morgan, Bayley, and Chelsea Green as potential rivals for her return. As for Brie, a Bella Twins reunion could seriously shake up the women's division once again, with a potential tag title reign seeming like a real possibility for the Wrestling Sisters. But what do you think? Are you hoping to see both Bellas back in the ring? Share your thoughts in the comments section down below. AJ Styles made his return to the ring in the Men's Royal Rumble match, and now that he's back from injury, fans are excited to see what's next from the Phenomenal One. AJ's future could see him embrace his past, as ahead of the Royal Rumble match, Muscle Man Malcolm asked several superstars for their go-to Waffle House order. One name asked was Omos, who rejected the question, arguing that IHOP is much better, and on Twitter, AJ said he was going to talk to Omos and that we'll get him back on track. While this was a fun allusion to their past as a team, some fans do feel that Omos should reunite with Styles, believing Omos hasn't done much since working with the veteran. AJ Styles has since been moved to Raw and has been confirmed for next week's episode of The Red Brand, and could a reunion with Omos play out on TV? Only time will tell. Over to TNA Wrestling now, as this week's Impact saw a Battle Royal take place to determine Masha Slamovich's next challenger, and a legend of the past made her return. Fans were shocked to see former WWE Women's Champion Jazz be a surprise entrant in the match, and she stood toe-to-toe with names including Rosemary, Jody Threat, and Xia Brookside. Ultimately, though, Jazz didn't win the match, as the victory went to Savannah Evans, who got the win and the title shot with an assist from NXT's Cora Jade. Evans will challenge for the TNA Knockouts World title next week, but after Jazz's return to TNA after last competing for the promotion in 2021, we'll have to see if there's more to come. For years, Josh Alexander has been a top star as part of TNA Wrestling, but next weekend his time with the company will officially come to an end. Alexander has confirmed that his contract with TNA will expire on February 15th, and he's set to be a free agent, and now fans know who his final TNA match will be against. On this week's Impact, the Walking Weapon had a face-to-face with fellow former world champion Eric Young, and a match between the pair was set for the February 13th show. This is being promoted as Alexander's final TNA match, and comes after Josh claimed he was quitting TNA after an I Quit defeat to Mike Santana at Genesis. As for what Alexander does next, time will tell, and do you want to see him in WWE, AEW, or somewhere else entirely? Share your opinions on his future in the comments. More from TNA, as this week's Impact was once again a showcase of the promotion's partnership with WWE, as several NXT names were in action. We already mentioned that Cora Jade was watching the Knockouts Battle Royal, but in the ring, NXT's Tyson DuPont took on TNA's Ace Austin. Despite a valiant effort by DuPont, Austin got the win with the fold, but the NXT collab continued after the match as DuPont, Wesley, and Tyreek Igwe tried to jump Austin. Zachary Wentz and Trey Miguel of the Rascals showed up to make the save, and where do you see this feud going? Share your thoughts down in the comments. The main event of this week's Impact saw the WWE NXT Tag Team Championships on the line as Fraxium put the gold on the line against Nick and Ryan Nemeth. The two teams held nothing back, but a miscommunication between the brothers would cost them, as Ryan attempted to use a steel chair on Axiom only to be stopped by Nick. This issue allowed for Nathan Frazier to take Nick out, and it was Ryan who was pinned after a missile dropkick and leg sweep total elimination. Fraxium have proven to be two of the greatest NXT Tag Team Champions in recent history, and who do you think will take the gold from the pair? Give your predictions below. Since arriving in WWE, Penta has made a huge impression, proving that he can hold his own as a single star despite his success in AEW as part of the Lucha Bros. Speaking with Shaq Wrestling, Penta was asked about joining WWE without Rey Fenix and whether he's been able to adapt to being a singles competitor. He said, "I feel very comfortable because it's just myself. I'm more aggressive in the ring, more violent, more Shakespearean, more of a different style from around the world. But when my brother is with me in a tag team, it's different, more dynamic, more special, more high flying. That's the difference, but I feel comfortable in both styles." Rey Fenix's situation has created a lot of debate, and many fans and insiders criticizing Tony Khan for keeping him under contract for no reason whatsoever. Khan has added time to Fenix's contract despite not using him in months, and in the Wrestling Observer newsletter it was reported that Fenix was exploring ways to get fired by AEW. Fenix's social media posts certainly paint the picture of a very unhappy worker, and it's worth noting that WWE and AEW have clauses allowing extensions for missed time. Even though Penta has succeeded as a single star, many are still excited to see him reunite with Rey Fenix once the latter is free from AEW. The teamwork and high-flying moves of the brothers made Penta and Fenix one of the most exciting tag teams prior to Penta joining WWE, and time will tell if we ever see the pair reunite. CM Punk is a bona fide main event star in wrestling, but since his return to WWE, the best in the world has been appearing at NXT events where he hopes to help the stars of tomorrow. Speaking with Jackie Redmond, Punk discussed his mentoring approach, making clear that he's hoping to find someone hungry enough to take the spotlight from him. He said, "The era I operate in is very rare. Obviously, the guys I'm competing against, they're not asking me for advice. They don't care what I think, but there are other people who maybe do. There are other people who maybe ask because they think politically that's the smart thing to do. My time I used here pretty openly. I'm here to help people. The selfish aspect of it is that I could talk to a 20-year-old track and field athlete from NXT, and I'm looking for something I can learn. It's a two-way street." While wrestling can be a cutthroat business, Punk refuses to follow the old-school idea of keeping talent down just to stay on top and wants the young stars to prove they belong. He added, "I don't like talking about myself because I wind up saying these wildly, what I feel are egotistical things, like I'm tired of pretending that half the locker room didn't buy a pair of boots because they saw CM Punk wrestle. I also think it's a very powerful responsibility to not be treated the way some veterans who I looked up to maybe treated me. It's like a learned behavior. Oh, I was treated this way and now I'm going to treat the next generation this way. I do the exact opposite and I try to kill that in its tracks. They treated me that way because they were maybe scared I was coming up and I was going to take their spot. I want somebody to be that hungry. I want somebody to take my spot. Old lions don't die of old age, they die from the young lions. Eventually, that's the way I think the book of CM Punk in the final chapter gets written. I just haven't seen anybody that man enough to do it yet." CM Punk doesn't sugarcoat things, and now he's laying down the ultimate challenge, saying if someone wants his spot, they're going to have to pry it away from him. With NXT and the main roster both having stacked rosters full of hungry talent, it remains to be seen whether anyone steps up and forces Punk to write his final chapter in the ring. Until then, Punk will continue to prove why he's still running the show, but he's ready for WWE's next generation to either answer his challenge or risk being left in the dust. Do you agree with Punk? Let us know in the comments below. Trish Stratus was another star who made their in-ring return at the 2025 Royal Rumble event, and this year marks a quarter century since Stratus debuted in WWE. Her role in the Women's Royal Rumble was her first match since her steel cage match with Becky Lynch at Payback 2023, and fans soon will be seeing more Stratusfaction handed out. On the hump, Sean Ross Sapp shared that Stratus is expected to be involved in some capacity for a while moving forward, and she often pitches things to the company. Sapp also pointed out that Stratus' 25th year anniversary and how WWE Elimination Chamber will take place in Toronto on March 1st, adding that he'd be shocked if she weren't involved. Stratus certainly looked ring-ready during the Women's Rumble match, and on Twitter shared that she trained for the match with TNA Knockouts World Tag Team Champion Jody Threat. In a video, the pair could be seen training at Santino Marella's Battle Arts Academy, and this training showed Stratus' dedication to giving a memorable performance in the Rumble. Whether it's in Toronto, the US, or elsewhere, Stratus always gets a huge pop from fans, and expect plenty more of that sooner rather than later. In NXT, The Rock's daughter Ava serves as the GM of the Silver brand, and now fans can expect to see Ava's role elevated with further ties to her legendary father. That's according to WrestleVotes Radio, who report that the plan is for Ava to be more prominently featured on TV and her character and merch to reflect ties to her dad. Sources revealed that these plans could include Ava playing off The Rock's final boss character, in which could mark the start of a serious shift for the NXT general manager. And we're ending with Saraya, who last appeared for AEW back in October 2024, but the British star has been busy, including promoting her upcoming memoir, Hell in Boots. That tell-all book will release in late March, and this week Saraya resurfaced online as she attended New York Fashion Week and shared some photos on Instagram. The event features several fashion icons and will last until February 11th, and this comes after she and her ex-boyfriend Ronnie Radke recently split after 6 years together. Saraya's most recent match saw her lose in a four-way that included Willow Nightingale, Jamie Hayter, and Nyla Rose. And what would you like to see from Saraya when she's back? Let us know down in the comments section below.